Welcome to the Rotary Club of Edina, the #1 club of the universe. Yeah, baby. My name is Michael Stanzak, and I'm humbled and honored to serve as your 67th president. Thank you. Thank you for coming out on this cold and potentially snowy Minnesota winter day. We have a fun and exciting meeting planned today with my friend Katie Simpson. For those of you that read the Star Tribune, how many of you read the Star Tribune? Jeff O, do you get the Star Tribune? He does. Perhaps you have seen the full-page ad with Katie's beautiful picture on it taken out by Bank of America, where they talk about what Bank of America does for the Twin Cities community. I'm so excited to hear her story and her journey. She is Joe, would you agree she's an atypical banker, perhaps? And she's a rising star, and well, Joe, you're a very great banker. Anyway, we're excited to hear Katie's story. It's going to be great fun. Thank you all, members and guests, for being here today. And for you Zoomers, we're so glad you're joining us. Gordy Lewis, Barbara Bourne, Gay Clapp, Jody Kern, Woosh, John Barnett, Dr. Sita Dash, Sue Parrott. Stay tuned for your pictures, Sue. And let's not forget Sam Coate. And I gotta believe that some of our fellow Rotarians, where it's warm and dry and sunny, they're not up here. Good for you. Thank you for joining us. Our first member spotlight is on the newest member of our Rotary family. It's baby Nora. And she was born to Kaylin and Kyle Idness on February 7th. And both mom and daughter are doing great. How exciting to see a new addition to our family. Our next member spotlight, staying with the birthday theme. Shelley, do you remember the birthday theme? A little bit? Okay. Is Sue Parrott celebrating her birthday. What a great looking candle, huh, Bill? Do you see Sue's candle right there? I mean, it's just going off like a volcano. Sue writes, couldn't ask for a better birthday, thanks to my family, friends and family who are making me feel so special. Maybe 55 won't be so bad after all. Sue, 55 is going to be great. And this could be your best year ever. Who knows? Next is Bjorn Fortenthal with his 2 wonderful daughters. Truth be told, actually, he's got his one daughter, Elsa, and his colleague, Jen, that are there. Now, the next picture is of our public image director, Katie. She has such a beautiful smile. There you are, Katie. And her husband, Ralph, with friends at the start of the Klondike sled dog race. How many people have seen a sled dog race? Wow, probably 8. How many people have actually rode in a sled? Wow, 5. That's something that Janet wants to do that we were supposed to do that we'll have to wait till next year to do. But anyway, here's pictures of the start of the Klondike Dog Derby in downtown Excelsior. It was pretty cool. Now, for those of you that didn't know, last Saturday night was the biggest social event of the year, Joe. It was the Rotary Club of Edina's bowling night. And kicking it off, we've got Sam Thompson with a really cool shirt. Eat at Ed Derrick's. Good food, good service. Now, Sam, where are you? Where did you get that shirt, Sam? Chicago, yeah! I think you bowled better because you had the shirt on. Okay, hanging out, having some fun. Bill McGreevy, Skip Thomas, Lottie Steinke, and our scorer, honorary scorer, Paul Moody. Next, we've got Sylvester Thomas and Patty and John Mazzara taking a break in the action. Next, we have Lisa Walker and Toshi Metzger. Thank you, Toshi, for representing the social committee and all you did to make it such a great event. Lisa's husband, Gage, and Janet Stanzak. Then it's Dr. Sharon Chandler, Kim Thompson, and Toshi again, hanging out, having fun. Then, for the second highest individual score, our very own Ryan Wilson, the local grants chair. And there he is with his beautiful wife, Tori. And how many months pregnant is Tori?
6.
6 months. And Tori bowled, which is amazing. I can't imagine being 6 months pregnant and bowling.
She bowled a turkey.
She bowled a turkey 3 strikes in a row. So anyway, there's Ryan celebrating with his trophy, his beautiful wife, and we don't know who the son or the brother or sister to Fiona is going to be, but they'll be coming soon. Okay, our champion, Will Steinke, with a high score of 186. Let's give it up for Will. Kip Peterson, had you been there, you would have, rivaled him, I know, but. Okay, now I'm sure there's great anticipation as to who won, right, Ken? Who won? Well, the third place team was not only then Sam Thompson, Kim Thompson, and Michael Stanzak with our honorary scorer in the back photobombing. Our second place team was Will Steinke, Paul Moody, Lottie Steinke, and Skip Thomas. Way to go. Kind of cool way to do it. And the winner is Matthew Gage and Lisa Walker and Sonia and Dave Tingen. Well done. It's a long-standing Rotary tradition that we go bowling in February, and next year there'll be more people there, so it'll be exciting. So celebrating birthdays this month are Deidre Cavell, Sue Parrott, who celebrated it well. Way to go, Sue. Becky Mikowski, she's feeling much better, the lady that keeps our Rotary Club together, sitting back there. Happy belated birthday. Geetu Sharma, who celebrated yesterday with friends and wine. Jennifer Hendrickson, Brad Hepp, Dr. Steve Vieker, Harold Hansen, Susan Johnson, Lindsay Smaka, Dr. Sharon Chandler, Mike Martin, and Mike Callis. Celebrating Rotary anniversaries this month are Ken Anderson, 23 years, John Cardell, 20 years, Joe Christensen, 21 year, our new member Gay, we're so glad you're part of our group, 1 year, Bjorn Frudenthal, 6 years, Wayne Harmon, 36 years, Bob Hildreth, 36 years, the man that introduced the phrase, the #1 club in the universe, also known as HB to his friends. You have to ask him about that. Joel Jennings, who is such a kind man, who's contributed so much of his time, talent, and treasure to our club. Charlie McGoldrick, 21 years, the man that runs the city of Edina with a plume. Scott Neal, 11 years. General Jeff O, 19 years. Carlin Padiachi, 1 year. And Sue Parrott, 23 years. What this says is how much people value our club. They truly want to make a difference. Don't they, Sue? And they want to be part of our club because we're fun. We do good things. All right, it takes a village to put on a Rotary meeting. And our greeters today were Eli Groenendyk and Geetu Sharma. For those of you that don't know, Groenendyk is Dutch, and like those people we saw in the Olympics, Eli is a fantastic speed skater. Isn't that right? No. No? Okay, well, work with me here, Eli. Come on. Helping at the front desk is Susan Stiles and Becky. The invocation pledge and four-way test will be led by Eli. Introducing the guests and visiting Rotarians will be Susan Stiles. Our speaker introduction is Joe Arends. Thanking the speaker will be Geetu Sharma. And riding the barker will be David Ozzie. Does he got it going on at his house? An 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old? I mean, your wife is a saint. You're pretty cool, too. They like pulling on your beard. Thank you for being here. And our public image director, Katie Campbell, is taking pictures to post on social media. Chris Lakowski is doing the video recording, so if anybody wants to watch us on YouTube, you can, and he's also doing the editing. And Ryan Wilson is doing the AV and Zoom assistance. Please rise for the invocation, Pledge of Allegiance, and four-way test.
Well, it is Valentine's Day on Monday. If you are still yet to get a gift for your loved one, you still got some time. But I think it's a good day to share your love to people that you care about. And I think it's also a good time to think about what true love actually looks like. So that idea of like, how do you love someone is kind of a hot topic in our culture. And I think the Bible has a lot of good teachings on what love looks like. So I'm going to read this somewhat well-known passage from 1 Corinthians 13 that gives us a good description of what true love looks like to a spouse or a friend or a coworker or a neighbor or anyone. So it says this, "And now I'll show you the most excellent way. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels and have not love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains but have not love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and surrender my body to the flames but have not love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres." Please pray with me. Heavenly Father, I pray that we as Rotary are people of love, that we seek truth, not our own selfish interests, that we can be people that are kind and compassionate and patient, and looking for the good in others and encouraging that good. Lord, I thank you for this group and the way that you are bringing truth and justice and love through us. Pray this in Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the four-way test, things we think, say, and do.
Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have 4 guests today to introduce, and the first one is Ken Brook. Ken, could you stand, please?
It's my dear friend Ken, who's here to hear Katie. Ken's a great golfer, a great fisherman, and he's a retired banker, so thank you for being here.
Thank you, Ken. And next, we also have Kathy Ritter. Kathy?
So the story goes, it's a true story, David, that Kathy and I met at Jersey Mike's, and she was looking for something to do after working for Hennepin County Social Services for 30 years, and I suggested the Rotary Club of Edina. So this is her 3rd meeting, she submitted her application, and she's looking to help out with local grants.
Awesome. Welcome, Kathy. And next, we have Nira Madhawk with, there we are, over here.
This is Neera. She's a very good friend of mine. She's also a neighbor. She's my first guest at Edina Rotary.
Yay! Good. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Geetu. And we have Michael Pickranian. And Michael, if you can stand, you're my guest. And Michael is a private wealth manager at my firm, Stiles Financial. And just a little bit of background on him besides what he does at work, is he also has 5 children. And he has a whole flock of chickens. And those eggs help feed his 5 children. Thank you.
So this is a little unusual. It worked out. Maybe it was a God prompting that we would have the slide of Jean Morrison, who spoke yesterday at the Leadership Series. So, David, I'm sorry you missed her. She spoke yesterday. But I wanted to just take a moment and speak on Jean and what an outstanding job she did, how relevant, how applicable it was. She spoke on resolving conflict, and she had very practical ways to identify your triggers. We all have triggers. I know I have those. I'm trying to figure out what they are. She said, before you can be critical of someone, you must be curious about someone and figure out who they are and why they are the way they are. And she also said, remember, we all have our invisible little red wagons that we are carrying around with our baggage in them, and that affects who we are and how we interact with other people. Very insightful. It was a great leadership series. Be aware, thank you, Jean, for your outstanding and relevant presentation. It was great. It really was. Give it up to Jean. So stay tuned for our next leadership series, which is always the 2nd Wednesday of the month at 7:45. Sonia, we're not sure where we're going to have it. It's kind of moving around Edina. But the speaker is going to be Amy Hudson, who's going to talk about developing leaders. And thank you, Rob Redding, for making that happen. So Joe Arends grew up on a family farm in Sacred Heart, Minnesota, a small west central Minnesota town. He's been in banking since 1976, and he's been Senior Vice President of Business Banking at North American Banking Company since 2005. He's past chairman of the Edina Chamber of Commerce and the Explore Edina Visitors Bureau, and he's past president of the Edina Kiwanis Club as well. He joined Edina Rotary in 2005 after being sponsored by no one other than Bill McCreevy. He has served on the board of directors and chaired the local projects committee, which he continues to be a member of. He's also serving on the local grants committee, and he's also participated heavily in Camp Enterprise. He currently lives in Bloomington. He has 2 adult daughters who are currently living in Bloomington, and he's blessed with 3 grandchildren who are only 5 minutes away. What a blessing. Bet they like hanging out with you, Joe. Really. Besides family, his other love is the game of golf. I think he's like a 4 or 5 handicap. He's really good, and he tries to play as much possible in the summer and on winter getaways. Please welcome my friend and fellow Rotarian, Joe Arends.
Well, I'm pleased this morning, or afternoon, I guess technically, to introduce Katie as our speaker today. Katie Simpson is the president of Bank of America and market executive for Global Commercial Bank at Bank of America Merrill Lynch. As Bank of America's Minneapolis-St. Paul market president, Katie serves as the company's enterprise leader by working across the region to connect its business lines to deliver integrated financial services to individuals, families, and businesses. Katie joined Bank of America in 2007 through the MBA Leadership Development Program. She has spent time in various lines of business supporting both commercial clients and high net worth individuals. Katie earned her BA in Political Science from Trinity College and an MBA in Finance from the University of North Carolina, Kenan-Flagler Business School. Katie is a board member of the Science Museum of Minnesota and the Minneapolis Institute of Art. She's also a member of YPO. She was recognized as being a top woman in finance from Finance and Commerce and was also named a 40 under 40 recipient by the Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Journal. Please join me in welcoming Katie Simpson.
Hi, good afternoon. So first of all, let's take note of that picture. It is a glamour shot. It will never, ever be taken down. So I love it. But thank you for having me here today. When Michael asked me to come to present, I thought, what should I talk about? You know, there is so much that we can talk about here today, and I went online and, of course, looked at your values. And so primarily talking about diversity and leadership and just my journey. But I did want to highlight fellowship. And I highlight it because I have seen firsthand how that has played out. This is a picture of my father. It was taken when he was the president of Rotary Wilmette in 1999 to 2000. Unfortunately, he passed away a year or two after, but what I saw him do with Rotary was magnificent. He was also part of Rotary International, and I got to see the work that Rotary did with ending malaria in India. And just hearing that conversation while growing up, it just gave me insight, so I can't tell you how grateful I am to be with you guys today, to be able to have a conversation with you. I know how important this club is, not only to your local community, but really internationally. So I did want to thank you. So when I think about diversity, I think about it in a few different ways. So I am a woman in a male-dominated industry. I work at a bank. And I have to tell you, it is unusual to be the only woman at the table trying to get your voice across and heard. And it is hard. I'm not going to downplay that in any regard. And it has impacted my style on how I present. And the things that I have learned truly from working in a place where you are one woman in a group of many men is that you have to be very intentional. How do you want to show up? What do you want to get across? But I don't want to focus totally on that. When I think about diversity, and diversity for myself, these two quotes really popped up for me. First one's by Coco Chanel. A girl should be two things, who and what she wants. And I look at that and I love finance. I love numbers. I love working with companies to see how they produce things and what their things work in society. I look around this room and every single thing here was produced by some company. And I want to get to know all of those companies. And I want to understand how it works and how commerce works. So I'm fascinated by that. And so that's actually why I went into banking. So thank you, Coco Chanel. I did not know this quote at the time that I went into banking, but I think it encapsulates why I did so. The second one is really where you take a look at my thoughts around being someone considered to be diverse. And that is ignore the glass ceiling and do your work. If you're focusing on the glass ceiling, you're focusing on what you don't have. You're focusing on limitations, and then you will be limited. And I think that goes to the core of how I think about diversity. I will tell you absolutely there is a way to go with equality, but I'm focusing on the part that we're trying to get to. So when I think about diversity and how I execute on it where I work, it is around diverse thought. Each one of you have an opinion. And with that, I want to hear them. You want to create a great atmosphere where everyone's opinion can be heard and be heard equally. So that's how I think about diversity, and that's how I think we can get a true great impact. We have a ways to go, but we make great progress. And escalating and debating are something that I love to do. My first job was at Kirkland & Ellis, and that is a law firm, and I focused on secured lending for leveraged buyouts for private equity firms. We debated a lot. And I think that that's where you truly come up with the best solutions. And so those are just a few thoughts that I have upon diversity. And I will next touch upon the topic of leadership. So with leadership, I know with the introduction, brief overview, but this is how I view my career. It is a Jackson Pollock. There is no start, there is no finish, and nothing is linear. So growing up, I had the ability to go to Trinity College in undergrad in Hartford, Connecticut. And in that, I truly took, maybe naively, that approach that you're supposed to go to college to learn. So what did I do? I found things I was passionate about. So I graduated with a degree in international political science with a focus on sub-Saharan Africa and the Middle East, and a minor in Buddhist art. It is very valuable in the workforce. So after that, I thought, okay, well, you know, I actually fell in love with studying Buddhist art, that I actually wanted to go and continue learning about philosophy and religions. And I think that they're fascinating, and that intangible is just magnificent to study. So I said, I'm going to University of Chicago and I'm going to continue on. And my family was like, that is wonderful. Are you going to become a professor? I said, well, no, heavens no. What are you going to do with this degree? I'm going to learn. How are you going to pay for this degree? Oh. So I took a job with Kirkland & Ellis. As I said, it's a law firm in Chicago because people with political science degrees go to law school, and I thought I should get a job at a law firm. I worked there for a number of years, and it taught me a ton of things. And with that, one of them was I did not want to be a lawyer. So with that, I went to business school. And of course, I'm very close with my family, and I rely on my family to help me make decisions. So I talked to my brother. He went to University of Chicago for business school. And I said, I'm applying to Chicago, Northwestern, and NYU. And that's it. And my brother said, you're doing it all wrong. I said, okay. Well, okay. What? And so he said, do 3 things. Take the top 20 business schools, find a place that you'll never live in again, find a place that's warm, and find a place with a good sports team. So I went to the UNC. I'm a Tar Heel. It's very exciting. We won a national championship when I was down there. And through that time, I spent some time on this journey of which aspect of business, and I decided to go into the commercial bank. And I had a chance, I was with Morgan Stanley on their equity trading floor. It moved a little too quickly. I wanted to really understand companies, so that's why I joined Bank of America. I joined Bank of America when the stock price was $55. I rode the way down to about 4 or 5. I think that's where our low was. That was my first 2 years at working at the bank. It was very hard. But what I did learn is how to underwrite credit. I did learn that relationships matter. I did learn that management matters, leadership matters. And so my journey has always been not what is the title that you hold, but what is the skill set that you get to leverage and what's the skill set that you get to learn. So I have credit skills, treasury management skills, managerial skills, strategic skills, and leadership skills. And the leadership skills for me are the things that are the most important. But in this time that I've spent with Bank of America, 16 years, 4 cities, 7 roles, I have been through a lot. And I've got to work with quite a few people. So let's think. Hedge funds, alternative asset managers, so private equity firms, corporations, high net worth individuals through family office, and now, most recently, being the president of the Twin Cities, work with the community. So thinking about all of our philanthropic work. I will say in this journey, I have led teams in Canada, Chicago, now here in the Twin Cities, and I think that there are a couple things that I've learned. And again, I don't like to rely on this title component of things, but rather I think that you can be a manager, but, and people will do things for you. But what you really get a lot out of is being a leader. And it was interesting when Michael was talking about the speaker yesterday morning, some of this stuff I was like, oh, this resonates. And so in my journey, these are the few things that I've picked up on. It can never be about yourself. It always has to be about your team. And it always has to be about the value with which you're trying to guide towards. Here we say, we want to make financial lives better. That is what we move towards. Focus on the value, drive the team. Second, intellectual curiosity goes a long way. And I think where I sit, I work in banking. It could be considered a commoditized arena. But let's think about how we can do things better, quicker, faster. What are things that are new and innovative that we can bring to market? And keeping that client-centered focus is really important. But when you think about intellectual curiosity as well, I think about that in terms of the people on your team. You should get to know everyone, and it will be so helpful as you design how you go to market, how you are going to achieve the success that you've sought. The other thing is, and this is something that took me a little bit of time. As you can see, I'm up here speaking, and I'm probably speaking too fast. That is what I do a lot. I come to work, let's get through things. We have 17 things on the agenda, let's get through them. Take a minute and pause and describe the why. You can tell someone to do something and they will do it. You can tell someone why we're doing it and can they help you, and you'll get a lot more out of it. And not only that, but you actually create a nice atmosphere. Okay, this is why we should do something. That's interesting. I can get behind this. We collectively can now own this and bring it forward. Don't be a cheerleader. So I oftentimes stand in groups such as this and people think how nice I am. I'm not. So I say that because coaching is hard. It's where you really sit down here and you say, you've got something you need to work on. People don't want to hear they're not good at something. And people don't like delivering that message, but it must be done. Because how are you going to help that person on their journey if you don't do that? And then the last point is leadership, just in general. And this is why I focus so much on it in my day-to-day. I have 450 people in the Twin Cities. I cannot manage all of them, but what I can do is try to provide leadership to them. And if I can motivate people to do things and to act their best, then we will get outstanding performance. And I use the example of the Twin Cities in that you take a look at Bank of America. I came here 6 years ago. We were ranked 88th in terms of FDIC deposits. Currently today, we are at 7 or 6. We're right on the cusp. In terms of our commercial banking presence, which is something else I also lead across the upper Midwest, we have doubled our business in 5 years. And so it does matter. Leadership does matter. And we've done that with a great group of people, but having them all work towards the same goal, you can see outsized performance. So those were my prepared remarks, but I will open it up to anyone here for any questions that you guys may have. These are the topics that I came forth with, but I answer lots of questions about a lot of things, so feel free to cover any topic.
Just a quick question. And just being in a leadership role at the level you're at, you're obviously working with a lot of people. And so how do you balance having the attitude of just making it a wonderful workplace and the positive energy to trying to get your point across in a very direct way to a lot of people that you have?
I think that's, of course. So the question is, and hopefully I've encapsulated this correctly, is that with a large scope of people, how do you create that positive energy, but also still be able to provide that necessary feedback where you need to get your point across and you need to execute? And so I take a look at it in two different buckets. So first, you do have to have the communication going at all times. So I talk about our value and our purpose. In today's day and age, you have to repeat that 7 times for someone to hear that. And you have to repeat it in different venues. So a town hall, a newsletter, an email, a team meeting. You think through all of those things. So that is what I spend a lot of time doing, is the communication around it. In terms of getting the point across, I do this in a variety of different ways. So first, my leadership team. So this morning I had a meeting with the head of Merrill, the head of private bank, the head of consumer, the head of business banking, the head of commercial banking. And that is where I'm very direct. This is how we're doing. Does this feel good? Is this the right place where we need to be? And let us think about things in a manner of challenging. I am very fact-based. So let's take a look at this report. How do you feel about this lack of participation in this specific category? And then, so that is what I do with my leadership team. And then further, with one-on-ones that I have, that's where we change things around. So for the commercial bankers that I have on my team across the upper Midwest, 45 minutes I spend with them. 30 is on business, 15 minutes is on them. The 30 minutes on business, that's where we're going. Here are all the metrics with which we look at. And I love data, I love metrics, I love Excel. What is this telling us? Now, how do we solve that? And I use the we a lot, not you, because I am here to make them better. And so I'd say those are usually the ways that I look at it. So broader group settings, I'm very much positive. This is our values, these are our goals, this is where we need to go. But I use a lot of data to say, where can we be better? Yes?
I'm with a small company, and at the start of COVID, there was the PPP, and we were with a larger bank, and with the politicians and the struggles, it was very difficult for our company to navigate that. If you were to do it all over again and you were the politician and you were the banker, how would you have done it?
I think that's a great question. So PPP at the end of the day did go through it. I mean, like, it did work.
It was a big struggle for our company.
It was a big struggle for a lot of companies, because it was one of those things that was put into place within a weekend. And from a technology perspective, none of the rails were built. And the guidance was changing and the rules were changing. So this is the thing where if we had to do it all over again, you know, we went into something new, it would be one of those things where we are going to do this. Let's take a minute and make sure we're clear on everything. Get people's feedback. And when I say, like, take a minute, let's take a weekend. Let's gather the facts. I've definitely worked in my career pulling all-nighters. Put in the effort. And so when you launch day one, it is clear and singular. I found that things shifted along the way with PPP. And I think that if we could start with the outset, now we knew the goal, and that was good, but how do we get to it? We should have put more time into that.
Do you think you could have worked with the politicians? Did the politicians reach out to you to work with you? How many questions do you have?
So there was, yes, no, it's a fair question. I don't know if it was the politicians necessarily, but the government was in contact with the financial institutions. And that's where they tried to work through these things as quickly as possible. Yes.
I have 12 grandchildren, 7 of whom are gifted girls, you know, all beautiful, all perfect. I want to be the best grandparent in the universe. You obviously are very successful. So along the way, there were things that influenced you. So what advice do you have to people to share with kids, with young women? You know, I'm old enough where I was in the world where it was really difficult for women. It still is. And how can we encourage them? How can I get one of them to be the President of the United States or whatever she wants to be? So what kind of influenced you, and what do you suggest that we can do to encourage and support?
Yes, absolutely. So I would say my father was probably the biggest cheerleader for me. He actually told my family that I was the best with money, which is hilarious because personally it goes in and out real quick. But I would say that my father was the one who was like, no, she's great with money. And everyone was like, that's so weird because I have an older brother. And it was like, no, she's the one. So I think that that helped. I think the other things are, when I take a look at it, is a lot of times growing up I was called pretty. And so I thought that that's what I should be. And so maybe stop telling your grandkids they're so pretty. But no, and actually joking aside, it was one of those things you grow up, and a lot of times what women are good at are based on their looks. So hey, it's okay. That's a great, and I find too that there's almost a level of perfection that's almost required when you're like a little kid if you look at the differences. So allowing your granddaughters to fail the same way your grandsons do, I think is great. To say, oh my gosh, don't look at the outcome, but let's talk to you about how did you think through that. So those would be my advice. Oh wow, okay, yes.
Katie, tell us a little bit about how your values and approach to diversity, equity, and inclusion manifests itself in your daily activities. You talk about your one-on-ones and your meetings and stuff like that. Tell us a little bit about where you're leading B of A on that.
Sure. So Bank of America, after the death of George Floyd, came out with $1.25 billion in terms of racial equality. And in terms of how that money is spent across the globe, for the Twin Cities, I am the person that gets to deploy that. So I think quite a lot about equity and inclusion and diversity. When I think also, so there's that component, the money aspect of it, but in terms of development of people and development of your staff, I think a lot about when we're out hiring, what does the slate of candidates look like? So let's make sure that we have diversity amongst the slate of candidates. Now in banking, again, there's not as many women as men, so you do have to go out and search that. My whole thought on that process too, though, is you give the job to the best candidate. And if there is a tie and that someone comes with a diverse background, you give the nod to the person with the diverse background. So that is my approach. The other things that I do is I am a co-lead for the Women's Leadership Council at Bank of America. I'm on our Women's Global Lead, which is a women's event, or Women's Affinity chapter. I'm part of the Black Professional Network, and I think that one's interesting because a lot of times when you think of affinity groups, you think, oh, this is a women's group, so only women can join. No, join, you know? Same thing with like Black Professionals Network, and I think that actually is great because when you think about diversity, again, it's diversity of thought. And when we think about trying to raise other groups, you need everyone to do it. So why would you exclude a group that's willing to help? So those are those types of things that I work on. Yes.
I had a question on your education and how you've applied it to the work that you do, because the link is you don't see the link right away. but having also gone to a liberal arts undergraduate program, you know, I see that there are benefits. How specifically have you applied your liberal arts education at Trinity, which is a damn good school, and then, you know, and then trying to pursue something, you know, in a very liberal arts kind of area to what you're doing now?
So that is a great question, because I do come back to my liberal arts education a lot. I love what I did at Trinity College. Oftentimes I write in bullet points, but straying away from that, Trinity College taught me how to write, which is huge. And I very much appreciate that, especially during times where you're trying to communicate via the written language on something that's delicate. The second thing is, as I alluded to, the religious component of things. So when you take a look at my international political science, you take a look at the Buddhist art component, a lot of that goes towards how do you lead people. It's like one of my favorite books that I recently read a couple years ago now, was Sapiens. And it was that intangible to get people to rally towards doing something. And when you think about leadership, I'm one person. My team is 450 people. Like, I can't individually spend the time to drive that. But what can I do to provide that atmosphere with which people will move towards and produce for themselves the best outcomes? So the liberal arts education, I actually lean on a lot. I'm not in Excel a lot anymore. I look at Excel, but I'm not creating it. So actually that component of my business school, actually I don't use as much, but I do come back to the liberal arts. Yes, oh, okay. We will go here and then here. Does that work?
Sure. Okay. I have a question about the state of the nation and the fear that money is printed ad lib and that all the banks will collapse. What do you say to that message that some people give you?
So what I would say is that banks are very solvent right now. Our balance sheet is in very good shape. What I would say is the concern that I would think of for our economy are probably threefold. One, COVID-19. I mean, first and foremost, let's make sure people are safe and healthy. But it does impact, as we have seen, the economy. Second thing is inflation, which we saw the data that came out this morning. It was revised up. We haven't seen this type of inflation, I believe, in 4 decades. And there are supply chain issues, and there's labor shortages. And then the third one is geopolitical. And so you think about what's going on with the Ukraine. So I look to those factors more so than the ones that you had mentioned when I think about where the economy is going and where we should be concerned. Yes.
Back to the coaching idea. I love your style in a lot of ways. You say coaching is hard and you're not a nice person. In that setting, perhaps.
It's okay. I'm not a nice person.
I just wondered, from your own perspective in your career, what was did you receive from a coach along the way a message or a lesson that really kind of is stuck with you and informs your style today?
Great question, because I am one of those people. I'm, truth be told, not young enough to be the people that ask for feedback immediately, but I do ask for feedback immediately. But one of the things that someone had said to me at the outset was, your performance, you think it's just your performance. You have to make sure people know what you're doing. Everyone's very busy, and people will help you, but you need to ask for help. And as we went through that and kind of unpacked that, we actually focused a lot on public speaking. I generally do not consider myself a good public speaker, and I've had coaches along the way, but there has been feedback on that. How are you going to tell your story and get across what you're trying to achieve if you can't stand up there and tell everyone? So that was feedback that sits with me a lot. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Where do you turn for your coaching or personal or professional development?
Great question. So throughout the course of my career, and that incorporates working at a law firm as well as the bank, I create what people call like a board of directors. So you have those folks that you've met along the way that have really helped you and have invested in you, and are the ones that will tell you kind of how it is. And so Ken knows this because I have these coaching sessions with someone very close. He was my first boss. But I have a group of people that I go to be like, this is what happened. And so I have that, which I've picked up along the way. And then I've learned a lot by joining YPO, which similar leaders come together being like, these are my challenges, and you find some similarities, and listening and seeing how others work through it usually gleam some tidbits that you apply to your profession. Yes.
Being both like left brain and right brain from your background, how do you satisfy the creative side of your life, I guess?
So actually, I think of what I do as being really creative. I mean, my job, at the end of the day, how can we do things better, quicker, faster? How can we help people? How can we achieve outsized performance? And I think a lot of those things there aren't answers for right away. So someone can come and say, hey, I've got an idea. Well, let's try it. And people will be like, you want to skip this Venn diagram of a process? I'll say, well, let's try it. If it works, then let's go back and say to the owner of the Venn diagram, maybe we should do it differently. But I think the creativity component actually is something that I use a lot in my day-to-day. Yes?
I'll stand up because it's easier to speak that way. Going back to the beginning of your presentation about the women in the workforce and you being in a male-dominated profession, funeral services is our family business. And when I came into it, it was 100% male-dominated for decades and generations, no men. Today, we have 35 licensed funeral directors, and 40% of them, 12 of them are female. And I will tell you, the boards that I've served on, the women have always been the most accountable. They read the minutes, they know what's going on, they do their homework, they're held accountable, and they always deliver. And you look around this room here, and you look at the women that are here, and you know, they either smashed the glass ceiling or went around it. I don't know which one. But I've always found them to be great. But, so there's a comment for you. But also I think, yeah, blackjack, right? Also, YPO is huge. I don't know if everybody understands what it is. First of all, I don't know if they know the acronym. So explain the acronym and what that is, because that is huge. I've got some friends around the country that are in that. And I was 45, so I was too old when I was named president of our company, so I couldn't be in it. So I'll hang up and listen.
Sure. So YPO is Young Presidents Organization. It is intended for people who hold a president title, CEO title, or own a company, and you're under the age of 45. The intention with YPO is to bring this group together and focus on three things. How are you doing professionally? How are you doing personally? And then how are you doing? The focus when you get together in certain structures within YPO is to focus on that 5%, the 5% on either side. The 5% that you actually don't usually show up and say to a big group of people, this is what I'm noodling on this edge. I will say that it is a great group to get what you want out of it as well. Like, it's a very great in terms of a social aspect. I moved to the Twin Cities and I didn't know a soul. It's great from a professional standpoint because when you get to a certain level, it can be lonely. Like, you don't have a lot of people to bounce things off of. You are the leader. So to be able to talk about professional things, and then quite frankly, focus on development, focus on self. And again, I have that passion around leadership, so being able to focus there and leverage what other folks are doing, and to be able to go deep on the leadership component has been very helpful for me. And I think that's it. Thanks.
Katie. That was very interesting and engaging. I don't think I've seen. I'm just saying that was very interesting and engaging. I don't think I've seen so many questions in any of our other speakers. So thank you so much. And as somebody who's, I have worked in the banking industry for 2 decades, I completely understand what you mean by being the only voice on the table. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
And as on behalf of Rotary, I need to, I'm going to share this with you. Rotary is a global network of 1.2 million neighbors, friends, leaders, and problem solvers who see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe in our communities and in ourselves. From literacy and peace to water and health, Rotarians are always working to better our world, and we stay committed to the end. In honor of your presentation, we will make a donation to My Very Own Bed, a local nonprofit that provides new beds to children moving into stable housing. My Very Own Bed gives a new bed, set of sheets, blanket, pillow, mattress pad, stuffed animal, and book to children who might otherwise go without. So thank you.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much.
Katie, you were wonderful. If I could speak as well as you did, I'd be much better. You were so genuine. What a great message. Thank you for being here. You hit it out of the park. We so appreciate it. Okay, to infinity and beyond. Next week, we have John Magnuson that Katie, I think you got, right? And he is with the Minnesota Association of Resources for Recovery and Chemical Health. And I think what he's going to talk on is depression and health, and if you see somebody that's struggling, what can you do to help them? And we're really excited to have him come. On the 19th is the Interact Skate in Polio. If you want to go skate with the Interact Club at Braemar Arena and make a contribution, that'd be great. The 24th is the Black Business Networking at Pimento Jamaican Kitchen. Great food, Tommy Beavis's restaurant. David, I think you would enjoy some Jamaican food and maybe a margarita or something like that. I don't know. It's a new networking thing that we're trying. It's at Nicollet Avenue, Minneapolis. Hey, March 1, the City of Edina annual message. Jennifer, are you speaking at that? Not speaking, sure. No doubt. Maybe Scott Neal might be saying a few words, huh? We have the avocation, which is happening on Wednesday, March 2nd at CW Bar and Grill, and I think it's Paul Nelson from the Morning Club is going to speak. Rotaract Polar Plunge, and then April 12th is something new, and Gay Clap is out there, and I'm sorry I'm not better prepared, but what it is, Hannelore, is we're going to be collecting clothes for girls in a third world country to help them. Much more information to come. It's April 12th, so we have a long way to go before we do that, but that's something that we're going to do. Good banking is produced not by good laws, but by good bankers like Katie Simpson. Meeting adjourned.